Hey everybody, we're back for another week of awesome stuff to talk about, and tonight we've got my beautiful wife Lyn with us.
Hi.
And we are going to be talking about something a little bit different, something that's very close to Lyn's heart, and that is astral projection and astral travel. So we're going to learn a little bit about how different people perceive what it actually is, because everybody has a slightly different take on it, and tonight we're going to find out a little bit about what Lyn thinks. So do you want to give us a little bit of a...
Astral projection it's actually the intentional astral travel. It's very similar to an out-of-body experience. It's the same kind of thing, but an out-of-body experience is classed as something that's unintentional. That's where people, they're in hospital and they're having an operation or something, and they're in the corner of the room looking at their body. Astral travel is intentional, basically, and it's a philosophy that is found all over the world, but the actual term astral travel was coined by a religion called Theosophily. Theosophily, I think it is, which was formed in the 19th century. It's an occult, a religion with occult leanings. Basis, yeah. But it's quite interesting. It's interesting to me, as Gary did say, because as a child I experienced out-of-body experiences that were not intentional in my sleep and sleep paralysis. Gary is acutely aware that I still suffer from sleep disturbance and those kind of things, and so it's really it interests me. It has always interested me. Why does it happen? And there's lots of different thoughts on that. There's no proof of any of those thoughts, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, a long time ago when Lyn and I, wasn't long after we first met, when we went to a place called Echoes. It doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. They've closed down, but it was a sound chamber where they would use things like gongs, didgeridoos, crystal bowls, and it creates a lot of noise. Now, people think, okay, it's ridiculously loud, but as Lyn can tell you, what happens is the sound seems to dissipate and you just feel the vibrations. Now, this is supposed to go through your whole body, and it puts your brain into a different brainwave pattern, and that's one of the things that is believed to be the case to assist with things like astral travel. And at the end of one of these sessions, what they would do is ask everybody if they wanted to share what sort of experiences they had. And I think the only way you can describe some of them is like a astral projection kind of thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. After that session, and I go into everything with a healthy amount of skepticism. But it was interesting that the concept was interesting because I'm a big music lover and I listen to a lot of music. So we all know if you are listening to a song, whatever your genre of music is, your preferred genre, if there's a song you really love, it actually affects you physically and spiritually, and it makes things happen that you don't have control over. And it's kind of a similar experience, wasn't it? The sound sort of takes you to another place.
Yeah.
But it's same but different. But it was quite interesting because after the session, the lady whose name was Dorothy, is that right, who was running the session, sort of went around the circle and asked everybody what their experience was. And it was so... Some people just said they fell asleep and some people said they just found it relaxing. There was people that saw quite a lot of Indigenous Australian related things, the kangaroos. They saw Indigenous spirits and those kind of things, which was interesting.
Look, the reason for that is, and Dorothy's explained it to me, where Echoes was situated, and it was put there specifically because of the location. It is on a direct ley line that goes to Uluru.
Well, that's interesting.
And quite regularly they'll have Aboriginal spirits come in just to see what's going on. And I think a lot of it's to do with using the didgeridoo as well, which I absolutely love the didgeridoo, especially
when it's on your feet.
the D note bass, the really bassy didgeridoo. What he'll do, he'll pass the whole thing over you as he's doing it, and you feel the vibrations. And what they do is it's situated like in a teepee type situation, so the crystal bowls, the mother gong, and all of that were in the middle. And of course, everybody's heads are around the edges, so all their feet were central to it because all the nerve endings end at the feet. So by concentrating the main amount of noise and sound at people's feet, and as Lyn was saying, when they use the didgeridoo around your feet, you just feel the vibration go straight through your entire body. It was part of an international study, and a lot of it, I think you can only describe as astral travel, because some people, and I'm a personal experiencer in this, travel to places which there's no way they could even have been on Earth. So that leads the door open to remote viewing and a lot of these different things. But
but on the flip side of that, some people believe it's some kind of spiritual guide who's there to comfort you in a state, particularly children, because children are quite terrified by those experiences. I had so many though. I mean, I could waffle off dozens of them. So that was very interesting. Is very interesting. It wasn't interesting, as I said, when I was a child. But the other related idea is also lucid dreaming. I don't know how much you know about lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all interconnected.
Part of anybody that knows me on Facebook, and this goes back a long time, I would have these weird dreams, and they're not. It's not like a normal sort of dream, and something would happen. And the first couple of times this happened to me, I kept it to myself, and then things would happen on the news, and it's like, oh wow, that's exactly what I dreamt about, or whatever it was. And so what I started to do, even if I woke up in the middle of the night from one of these dreams, I would straight on Facebook and I would message it. I would just say Gary's spider sense was tingling, and I would give a description of what would happen, and within days these things would actually happen, and it was really interesting. So I put that down to I don't know if it's a lucid dream or if you call it a vision. I don't know what you want to call it, but you don't know if you're awake or if you're asleep, whether it's sort of like reality and the dream world all mixed together. And I don't know what your take on the lucid dream is, but...
Well, my limited understanding is that practitioners of astral travel also dabble in training themselves to be able to control their lucid dreams, which is interesting, so they can actually affect what is happening in those dreams. I guess it's a way of practicing.
I can control what happens in my dreams all the time, but I don't know.
Training exercise, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how I would think about that, but when you talk about astral projection or astral travel, what do you actually think it is?
I don't know. Lots of people have, as I said earlier, that lots of people have their theories. I can only tell you my experience. Scientists will tell you that it's the electrical energy in your brain and chemicals in your brain. I've just lost it. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, while she's gathering her thoughts, I will pose a couple of questions now.
I was just answering your question.
Yeah, I know, but you said you've lost your way.
No, I've got it now. Scientists believe that it's a chemical imbalance in your brain, so it's a survival thing. If you're having a dream and you wake up and you start thrashing around, you're going to hurt yourself. So keeps your body. Oh, we're talking about astral travel, aren't we? Not sleep paralysis.
No, sleep paralysis. I was going to say you were describing sleep paralysis, which we've talked about previously, where, as you were saying, because what happens is, and this actually could have something to do with astral projection. When you're asleep, if your body and you're dreaming and stuff, and you could be in the middle of a martial arts fight or something like that, they don't want your body moving around doing all these moves while you're asleep, because you'll kill your partner who's sleeping right next to you.
Sorry, Gary.
Yep. So what the body does is it numbs the responses down, so you're almost in a state of paralysis as such. You're not in total paralysis, but it sort of shuts off, I'm assuming, a lot of blood flow or something, so that your limbs sort of are in a very relaxed state. Now, what happens is if you're suddenly jolted awake by something, your body doesn't have a chance to kickstart. It's pretty quick, but it doesn't have a chance to kickstart super quick. And that's when you can feel pressure on your chest. You can feel like you're being pinned down because you can't move. Now, in a paranormal sense, they would call that the old hag syndrome. Scientifically speaking, they call it sleep paralysis.
Take offense to that.
Oh, you are not an old hag. You are a martial arts bloody demon.
I thought you didn't like that word.
I don't, but it just goes to show the...
What Gary is saying is correct, but people, practitioners of astral travel, believe that the soul and the body are connected by a cord.
Yep,
basically,
that's an old Japanese Chinese saying.
That basically what astral travel is the physical the astral body or the soul leaving the physical body and traveling through astral realms or dreamscapes or whatever you want to call them. And as again, your question to me was, what do I think it is?
Yeah.
And I can only tell you from my experience what I think it is from someone who's a skeptic. I feel I have sleep paralysis and I have experienced astral travel, which I haven't really talked about, but as a child I used to dream that I was in familiar places, but I was when I took a step, it was like, you know when you see videos of men on the moon and they're because there's no gravity, so I was my physical body wasn't holding me wasn't holding me back, so I was able to, and I would to take big steps and jump high and float over things, and it was so real. It was so different to dreams. Dreams to me are a thing that you have while you're in them, you experience them, you wake up for about 30 seconds, you remember them, and then half an hour later you couldn't even tell anybody what you dreamt about. The difference between those kind of dreams is I can tell you what I saw and what I experienced 40 years later, 45 years later.
Yeah.
So it is lucid. They're lucid dreams. But why are they so different? Is it because it's real, or is it because...
I think dreaming and then either lucid dreaming or astral travel are two completely different things. So when you're noticing there's a bit of a difference, it's because there is a difference.
But when I look at it from the perspective of sleep paralysis, because all these things are intertwined, it is believed... When I suffered sleep paralysis, I don't as much nowadays, but I do occasionally. When I'm laying on the bed, I have this feeling, and I described it to you as a vibration. My body's not vibrating, but I have this feeling inside me that's like almost like if you put your finger in a PowerPoint, but on the inside. Does that make sense?
I've never tried that, so I don't know.
An energy, and it's the only way I could describe it, it's like my soul returning to my body. So you can feel the cord. And again, as I'm a skeptic, but there's these feelings that you have, and there may be people out there who have sleep paralysis. I don't know I've never really come across anyone else who suffers from it or talks about it. But it'd be interesting to hear other people's thoughts on it, because to me that's exactly what it feels like. And so I believe that astral travel is possible. I think science has discounted it as impossible, but I don't think you can discount it as possible or impossible, really. Do you at this point? No.
We watch a show called Evil. I know it sounds evil. It's not. It's really good. It's a really good show. It's on Stan. If anybody hasn't seen it, it's definitely worth watching. Now, in one of those episodes, they actually mirrored it on real life studies, and what it was all about is trying to quantify the soul, and if the soul has mass. And I think you probably remember this episode. They had a person who was basically imminently going to pass away.
Yeah, I do remember.
So they had it set up in this room, and it had ridiculously sensitive weighing equipment and lots of other equipment in there as well. And at the point of passing, there was a change in the person's weight. Now, it was very small. You're talking milligrams, isn't it? It was.
Oh, there is a number. There is a
20
figure.
something milligrams or
20
grams or something like
27
that.
grams or something. Yeah.
And they found that interesting. And some people say, well, it's oxygen leaving the body and density changing, but it was that on following tests as well, it was the exact same amount. So it made you think, okay, well, what is leaving the body? Now, when you talk about astral projection or astral travel, my thing is obviously what you see is just our physical body, the vessel that holds our soul and things like that. But every now and then our soul goes out for a bit of a run through the universe and stuff. Now, the scary part about that is, and this question was posed to me by a very world-renowned paranormal investigator, I can almost guarantee you every person on the planet knows her name. She said, what happens when you go out, I think she used the word gallivanting, around the astral plane, because in the astral plane you can pretty much go anywhere, that you're not bound by any laws of physics or anything like that. But what she's saying is, back here where your body is lying, it's effectively vacant. So at that point, I was told the most dangerous part about astral projection is, or astral travel, projections when you project yourself somewhere, so you can see somebody in a different place where they're actually not, whereas astral travel is actually traveling somewhere. And while you're out traveling around, your body is empty. If somebody else who's doing the same sort of thing can see it, they can effectively take possession of your body. And
wow, Gary, I'm scared.
It's a scary thought.
Yeah.
If you put everything into believing about astral projection or astral travel, which I do believe, then you have to take on the risks involved as well. Everything that's good has risk with it.
Yeah.
Even that, and in many respects, it could explain a lot of these demonic possession kind of situations, because astral travel, while a lot of people aim to do it intentionally, as you were saying earlier, sometimes it happens totally unintentionally.
Yeah.
And without the training about knowing what you're doing, you're in a completely foreign environment, and you don't know how to move. If you've ever seen that film Ghost with Patrick Swayze, I'm sure most people have, when he finds himself in the astral, it's almost like the astral plane, I guess, there, or a version of it, and he doesn't know how to touch anything. It wasn't until he comes across that ghost on the train that he learns that you can manifest and manipulate things if you concentrate, because obviously you don't have any physical mass. And part of astral projection and astral travel is exactly that. So if you're suddenly thrust out of your body and you don't know how to control, and you don't know how to basically swim in the astral plane, how do you get back?
Well, again, going back to my experiences when I was younger, you almost drawn back. It's that cord. It brings you back. And I, again, had experiences very different to the sleep paralysis experience, where I feel like I was walking through clouds, and suddenly I fell through the clouds, or through sand. Sometimes it was sand, sometimes it was clouds. But again, these were really lucid, vivid. I could call them dreams, but
you don't think it was?
I don't think they were, no. And well, they didn't feel like dreams. It felt real. I could feel the wind on my skin. I could smell things. I could hear music or voices or different things, or very different all the time. But I'd be walking through something soft like clouds or sand or whatever, and then suddenly I'd fall through. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but a falling dream where you hit the bed and jump about that far off the bed, because that is something happening. That's a physical reaction to something. It's not, you don't just suddenly bounce off. It's if you tried to bounce as high off your bed as you do when you experience that, you couldn't, could you? It's like,
I don't know.
It's like,
I've never had that happen.
It's like, have you never experienced that kind of dream?
Not that kind. I've had those dreams where you've been chased by something and it's so frightening you just want to get away, and in these dreams you try to fly, and you try to fly to get away, but you just can't seem to get off the ground, and your feet just seem to be stuck in the mud, and no matter what you do, the struggle seems to get more and more.
But you've never fallen through and landed back in your body?
I've never fallen through and landed back in my body.
It's quite an experience. It doesn't happen very often. But what I'm saying is that perhaps that's because there's something around that's noticed your empty vessel of a body, and something, or the guides, or the invisible cord, or any of those, whatever, has sent you some kind of warning. Get back quickly, because something's, do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So perhaps that explains that. I don't know.
Well, it's funny you described it exactly like that. I've actually said to people before, the West Australian Paranormal Researchers, which is my team, way back at the start, we had a different psychic lady, and she used to do a board session, and she would start the board session up at this end, but I think it was her nan, who's obviously passed, was at the other side. So it was like she was opening a door, to let spirits talk to us and things like that. But her nan was stood sort of outside the door at the end of the gate, near the gate there, and if she saw something bad coming, she would just spell out on the board, close. In other words, shut it down, do it properly, shut the door, because so many people with these sort of things, they don't close it off correctly, and it's like leaving the door open when you go out. If you leave that door open, anybody can come through, you've got no control over it. And maybe it's something similar to that, get back now, because if you don't get there first, somebody else might.
Yeah.
Or something else might.
It seems strange that you have that, well, to me, and having experienced that. And again, I'm not going to say...
I don't have this problem because I don't have hair, but your hair's probably going all over the microphone.
It's interesting that sometimes you have this sensation, if it is in fact astral travel. I'm not saying that's what it is, it's just what it feels like and felt like to me as a child, as I've said, and as an adult as well. I seem to have a bit more control over it as I've gotten older. But sometimes you return to your body slowly, and there's an energy in your body, and you can feel things joining. Joining's probably not the right word, but you can feel things coming back. Connecting. Thank you. Good word. I'm not sure how I didn't think of it. And other times it's almost like something or someone's gone, where's the cord? Yank, and pulled you straight back in. And it's two very different experiences. So, but it's interesting, isn't it? At the same time, it's very difficult to explain to people that have not experienced it. But
all right, well, we're going to go in a minute. So, do you want to, in your best possible summation, sum it all up? I use fancy words then.
Again, I always like to say that I'm a skeptic, always. Yep. I haven't done a lot of study. I'm going to be completely honest that I've only just started studying this because Gary put the idea in my head. But it's interesting, and I'm probably going to study it further because it is something that I've experienced. And reading different, it all depends on your perception of the world, really, like anything paranormal or scientific does, doesn't it? So some people perceive it as chemicals in the brain, and other people perceive it as a spiritual experience where the soul leaves the body, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. Somewhere... Or over there somewhere. Yeah. Exactly. I don't know. I'm going to tell you.
And that's the thing. Yeah. We don't understand what it's all about, and that's why we have an interest and we study it.
Yeah.
Science don't want to look at it because they can't quantify it. They can't throw it in a box and go, that's what it is.
Religion's very into it, though. A lot of religions. Hindus are.
Oh, yeah, that sort of thing. I don't actually class Hindus as religion. I consider it more of a spiritualism kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Hinduism and stuff, we should not be getting into religion in this conversation.
No, we're not.
But they're all about freeing your mind, and
Yeah.
Whereas other religions are all about controlling, and that's where I draw the line. They shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, well, but yoga teachers practice astral travel as part of their meditations,
and that's it. Meditation is a big part of it. It's about putting your brain and body, I guess, into a receptive mode so that you're able to do that. You know.
And who knows, the astral realm, or the dreamscape or plane, thank you, is it may very well be within us. It might not be out in the universe, but we don't know, do we? It may very well be in our minds. I don't know, Karen. But it's still...
the big thing that you just said there?
Mm-hmm.
You just said it could be in us and it could be out there.
It could be both.
Why can't it be everything? And our universe is part of that, not that is part of the universe.
Yeah.
It's the other way around.
And if I can describe to you, and I was telling you about this last night because I was doing some reading about astral travel, and I found a really interesting article. I don't remember who it was by, but sorry, but it was a person, a man speaking about his experience and how he's made it a positive thing for himself. His experience with sleep paralysis. He's delved into.
I don't know what you just did then, but did you see that whole screen flash?
No, I didn't.
That has never done that before, ever.
That's because I'm magic. Oh, God, you made me lose my train of thought again, Gary. Oh, my
Well, we were
goodness.
saying goodbye, but you just kept going.
Oh, no, I know. As a child, and this is what I can only talk about my experience, I had times where I would be laying in bed in the grips of sleep paralysis, quite scared, and at the same time I would feel myself, you can't really see it, but you feel yourself this far from the ceiling, you feel yourself in your body on the bed, and you feel yourself under the bed at the same time. So that's a bizarre experience.
Yeah.
But it goes back to what you're saying, that things can be in more places at once, and things can be everywhere, or they can be nowhere, can't they? So the universe is a mysterious place.
The multiverse is a mysterious
Yes.
place.
We didn't even talk about Doctor Strange, did we?
No.
Not
Anyway,
even one time.
I think it's time to go now. So I think you will. We have to have you back again soon. Talk about something
I'll
else.
see you out in the lounge room.
We are in the studio. We have to travel home. It might just be through that door, but
Shall I go to sleep
separation.
and astral travel back to the lounge room?
Anyway, on that, I think we better go. See ya.